Welcome to another powerful story on our channel. Today, we bring you an emotional journey that unfolds inside a toy store, where a little boy's joy turns into a painful lesson on prejudice. But what starts as a moment of hurt quickly transforms into an inspiring stand against racism, led by a father's courage and a community's support. If you believe in the power of unity and the importance of standing up for what's right, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that touches the heart. Let's dive into this moving tale of justice, change, and hope. The story begins at Wonderland Toys, a prestigious toy store nestled within a bustling shopping center. The shop is known for its sophisticated layout and welcoming atmosphere, drawing in families who enjoy exploring the colorful aisles filled with toys of all kinds. The place is a haven of joy, discovery, and laughter, especially for children. On a bright Saturday morning, Tyler, a cheerful 8-year-old black boy, walks into the store with his nanny, Marissa. Tyler's eyes widen with excitement as he takes in the vibrant displays of action figures, stuffed animals, and remote control cars. He's full of curiosity, darting from shelf to shelf, pointing out toys he has seen on TV or dreamed about for months. His voice rings with excitement as he spots a sleek, red remote control car. "This is the one I was talking about, Marissa," he exclaims, bouncing on his toes. "Can we see it up close?" Marissa, a kind woman in her late 30s, smiles warmly at Tyler's enthusiasm. "Of course, sweetie," she replies, following him to the display. Tyler gently picks up the car, his eyes sparkling as he imagines racing it down the sidewalk near his home. Unbeknownst to them, Karen Mitchell, a regular customer of the store, is also browsing the aisles. Karen is a middle-aged white woman who carries herself with an air of superiority. Dressed in designer clothes and wearing a permanent expression of disdain, she considers herself a VIP of the store. As she moves through the aisles, she notices Tyler holding the remote control car, and her smile fades. Her gaze narrows, and she subtly shakes her head, her expression shifting to one of irritation. "What is that boy doing with that car?" she mutters to herself. As she walks closer, her eyes fix on Tyler, her mouth forming a tight line of disapproval. Tyler, still caught up in the joy of the moment, doesn't notice the shift in the atmosphere. The store, usually filled with the chatter of children and the hum of activity, feels a little heavier, as if a storm cloud has just crept inside. Tyler's joy is palpable as he carefully examines the red remote control car, turning it over in his small hands to admire its sleek design. He imagines himself racing it down the street, beating all his friends in a thrilling, high-speed chase. Marissa watches him with a smile, appreciating how a simple toy can bring so much happiness. However, this moment of innocent delight is abruptly interrupted. Karen steps closer, her heels clicking sharply against the polished floor. She glances at the car in Tyler's hands and then at Tyler himself, her lips curling into a sneer. "I don't think that's something you should be touching," she says, her voice cold and cutting. Tyler looks up, confused, unsure if she's speaking to him. Karen's eyes narrow as she continues. "These toys are expensive, you know. You probably can't afford it, so why bother?" Marissa's face goes pale as she processes the words. She quickly steps forward, placing a protective hand on Tyler's shoulder. "Excuse me, ma'am, but that was very unnecessary. Tyler has every right to look at any toy he wants," she says, her voice firm but controlled. Karen scoffs, crossing her arms over her chest. "Oh, really?" she replies, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "I just think it's best if children who can't pay for things don't handle them. It saves everyone the trouble, don't you agree?" She raises her voice slightly, making sure others in the store can hear. Several customers start to turn their heads, and the cheerful chatter around them begins to fade, replaced by a tense, uncomfortable silence. Tyler's joy evaporates, and he looks down at the car in his hands, his fingers trembling. The excitement that had lit up his eyes just moments ago is now replaced by confusion and hurt. He doesn't fully understand why this woman is saying such mean things, but he feels the weight of her words all the same. Marissa steps closer, her protective instinct flaring. "Tyler is allowed to be here, just like any other child. You have no right to speak to him that way," she says, her voice shaking slightly with a mix of anger and disbelief. But Karen is undeterred. "Oh, don't get so emotional," she replies, waving a dismissive hand. "I'm just being practical. Not everyone belongs in places like this." She looks Tyler up and down, her expression one of sheer disdain. "It's just a fact." The words hang heavy in the air, the underlying racism in her statements unmistakable. Tyler's small hands clench around the car, his head lowered as if trying to make himself smaller, less visible. Marissa's heart breaks seeing the once joyful boy now so visibly shaken. She opens her mouth to speak, but before she can respond, someone else enters the scene, changing everything. As the tense silence thickens around them, the store's door swings open, and a man walks in with a confident, unhurried stride. David Johnson, dressed in a crisp, tailored suit, enters Wonderland Toys. He is tall, with a commanding presence, yet there's a warmth in his eyes that softens his imposing figure. His gaze sweeps across the store until it lands on the unfolding scene near the toy shelves. From the way Marissa stands protectively beside Tyler, he instantly senses that something is wrong. David moves toward them with purpose, his expression calm but serious. As he approaches, he hears the last biting words of Karen's tirade. "It's just a fact," she repeats, her voice laced with a smug finality. David's brow furrows, but he maintains his composure, carefully assessing the situation. "Excuse me," David says, his tone polite yet firm, drawing the attention of Karen, Marissa, and a few onlookers. "Can someone tell me what's happening here?" His voice is calm, but there's an edge to it that suggests he's not here for small talk. Karen, not recognizing him, is quick to respond. She offers him a saccharine smile, assuming he must be another regular customer like herself. "Oh, nothing to worry about," she says, trying to brush it off. "Just a little misunderstanding. I was merely suggesting that some toys are not suitable for everyone." She glances at Tyler with a look that makes it clear who she means by everyone. David's eyes narrow slightly as he glances at Marissa, who meets his gaze with a mix of relief and urgency. Tyler still clutches the remote control car, his small hands trembling, his eyes downcast. David's heart aches to see his son, usually so full of life, looking so vulnerable. With a gentle smile, David kneels down beside Tyler, placing a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Hey, buddy," he says softly, his voice full of warmth. "You like that car, don't you?" Tyler looks up, surprised to see his father there. He nods, a tiny smile creeping back onto his face. "Yeah, I really like it, Dad," he whispers, his voice barely audible. David's smile broadens. "Then we're taking it home," he says, as if it were the simplest decision in the world. He stands up, holding the car and turning to face Karen, who now looks slightly uncomfortable. "Is there a problem with my son choosing a toy he likes?" Karen's eyes widen in surprise as she pieces together the situation. "Your son?" she stammers, taken aback. She hadn't expected the man she was now facing to be related to Tyler. She forces a nervous laugh, trying to regain her composure. "Oh, I didn't realize. Of course, there's no problem. I was just..." David doesn't give her a chance to finish. "Good," he says, his tone still calm but now with an undeniable firmness. "Because I can assure you, my son has every right to be here, just like any other child." Karen's face flushes, but she's still not ready to back down completely. "I didn't mean anything by it," she says, attempting to sound casual. "I was just joking, really." David's expression remains steady, unyielding. "Racism isn't a joke," he replies. "And I don't find your comments funny." His voice carries through the store, clear and resolute, and the air around them seems to shift. Other customers, who had been pretending not to listen, now turn their full attention to the exchange, sensing that something significant is about to happen. Karen's discomfort is evident, but before she can respond, David decides it's time to make a revelation that will change the entire dynamic. "Allow me to introduce myself properly," he says, his eyes locking onto hers. "I'm David Johnson, the new owner of Wonderland Toys. I acquired the store last month." The silence that follows is deafening. Karen's eyes widen in shock, and she stands frozen, her mind racing as she processes his words. The other customers look on, some in disbelief, others with newfound respect. Marissa can't help but smile, grateful for the unexpected turn of events. Tyler looks up at his father with awe, his earlier sadness replaced by a sense of safety and pride. David takes a step closer to Karen, his gaze unwavering. And as the owner, he continues, I intend to make this store a welcoming place for all children, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or how much money they have. His words are deliberate, each one landing with weight and clarity. I'm not asking for anything extraordinary, just basic human decency. Karen, realizing she is in no position to argue, stands there speechless, her face a mix of shock and embarrassment. For the first time, she seems to understand that she might not be as untouchable as she thought. The revelation of David's identity sends shockwaves through the store. Karen's mouth hangs open, her cheeks flushing a deep red as she struggles to compose herself. She glances around, noticing the curious, judging stares from other customers. For the first time, she feels the weight of the situation she has created. Desperate to salvage her image, Karen forces a nervous smile. Mr. Johnson, I think there's been a misunderstanding, she begins, her tone suddenly sweet and conciliatory. I didn't mean anything by it. I was just trying to be playful, you know? Sometimes words come out wrong, but I meant no harm. She looks at Tyler, forcing a smile, and adds, he's a very cute and smart boy. David's expression remains neutral, but there's a steely glint in his eyes. Calling a child cute doesn't erase what you said, Ms. Mitchell, he replies calmly. Racism doesn't disappear with a smile or a condescending compliment. And your words were far from playful. Karen's smile falters, and she shifts uncomfortably on her feet. But I was just joking, she insists, her voice a bit sharper now, as if she can sense her control slipping away. People need to learn to take things less seriously. David takes a deep breath, his calm composure never wavering. Jokes can be harmful, especially when they come from a place of prejudice, he says. Dismissing your comments as jokes is a way of avoiding accountability, and I won't allow that here. The atmosphere in the store is tense, like a string pulled too tight. Karen's attempts to deflect and downplay the situation are failing, and she knows it. But she still isn't ready to fully admit her wrongdoing. Well, I didn't mean to offend anyone, she mumbles, her eyes darting around, looking for a way out. I apologize if anyone was upset. David repeats, his voice firm. You can't apologize for how others react. You can only take responsibility for your actions. He lets the words sink in before continuing. And in this case, you need to understand that what you did was offensive, and it was wrong. It's not about how people feel. It's about the impact of what you said. Karen's eyes narrow, her frustration bubbling up again. You don't need to lecture me, she snaps, her facade slipping. I've been a customer here for years, and I don't appreciate being treated like this. David's eyes lock onto hers, unwavering. And I'm the owner now, he says, his voice low but resolute. Which means I'm responsible for the environment in this store. My goal is to create a place where every child feels welcome and safe, regardless of who they are. If you can't respect that, then perhaps this isn't the store for you. A murmur runs through the small crowd that has gathered, their eyes fixed on David and Karen. The tension is palpable, with everyone waiting to see how this confrontation will end. Karen's pride and anger are clear, but she's also visibly shaken. She wasn't expecting to be challenged like this, and certainly not in front of so many people. David turns slightly, addressing not just Karen but everyone in the store. I grew up in a neighborhood where not everyone had the same opportunities. My wife and I worked hard to make sure our son has the chance to enjoy places like this, without being made to feel less than anyone else. That's why I bought this store, to make sure every child can experience the joy of play, without judgment or prejudice. His words hang in the air, echoing through the store. Karen shifts from foot to foot, struggling with what to say next. Her usual confidence has been shaken, and she realizes that the only way out of this is to make a decision, one she's reluctant to face. David steps closer, his voice soft but powerful. I'm giving you a choice, Ms. Mitchell. You can apologize, sincerely and publicly, to my son and to everyone here for your hurtful behavior. Or you can leave this store and know that you won't be welcome back." He pauses, letting the ultimatum settle. The choice is yours. The store falls silent. Karen's face contorts as she processes the ultimatum, and it's clear that a battle is raging inside her. She looks around, seeing the faces of the customers watching, some sympathetic, others stern. She's never had to apologize publicly before, especially not in such a humiliating situation. Her pride screams at her to walk out, to hold her head high and refuse to admit she was wrong. But there's a small part of her that knows if she leaves now, her reputation will be forever tainted. "I don't think I did anything wrong," she finally stammers, her voice faltering. "But if it makes things easier, then I'm sorry." The apology is half-hearted, the words sounding forced and insincere. David's expression hardens. "That's not an apology," he says softly, shaking his head. "It's a weak attempt to save face. I need sincerity, Ms. Mitchell. If you can't offer that, then you're free to leave." Karen stands there, frozen in place, her face red with embarrassment. For a moment, it seems like she might swallow her pride and offer a real apology. But then, with a defiant flick of her head, she turns and walks towards the exit, muttering under her breath, "Fine. I won't be coming back to this ridiculous place." The door closes behind her, and for a moment, the store is enveloped in a heavy silence. Then, as if on cue, a slow clap begins, followed by more, until the store is filled with the sound of applause. Customers smile at David, some even nodding approvingly. Marissa beams with pride, and Tyler, still holding the toy car, looks up at his father with a mix of admiration and relief. David smiles, feeling a sense of accomplishment, but he knows the real work has just begun. As the applause dies down, David takes a moment to collect himself. He looks around, seeing the faces of customers who stayed to witness the confrontation. Some are nodding in approval, others seem reflective, but all of them are paying attention. David realizes that what just happened was more than just a moment of confrontation. It was an opportunity to send a message that could change how people view the store and each other. David clears his throat, drawing everyone's attention. "Thank you," he begins, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "Thank you for taking the time to listen and for your support. What happened here today is a reminder of why it's so important to stand up against prejudice, no matter how small it might seem. Every time we let it slide, we let it grow. And I won't let that happen here." The crowd is silent, absorbing his words. Marissa steps a little closer to Tyler, her eyes welling with tears, proud of how things turned out. David looks down at his son, who gazes up at him with admiration. The bond between them is clear, and it radiates warmth, contrasting sharply with the coldness of Karen's earlier behavior. "Some of you might know that I recently took over Wonderland Toys," David continues, his eyes scanning the room. "When I bought this store, it wasn't just because I wanted to run a business. I wanted to create a place where kids can be kids, a place where they can come in, play, laugh, and dream. No matter where they come from, what they look like, or how much their parents make." He pauses, letting the words settle in. That's why what happened today mattered. Because when a child feels unwelcome, they lose a little bit of that joy, that innocence, and that sense of belonging. And that's something I'm not willing to let happen. There's a murmur of agreement from the crowd. People exchange glances, and a few even step closer, as if to physically show their support. David's words resonate deeply, and the atmosphere in the store starts to shift. What was once a scene of tension and discomfort is now transforming into a moment of unity and understanding. David takes a deep breath, knowing there's one last point to make. "I want to be very clear," he says, his voice growing firmer. "This store will be a safe, welcoming space for all children. And that means there's no room for prejudice, no room for discrimination, and no room for behavior like what we witnessed today. If you can't respect that, then this isn't the place for you." A small cheer breaks out from the back of the crowd, and soon others join in, until the store is filled with claps and voices of agreement. The outpouring of support surprises even David, who hadn't expected such a strong, positive reaction. He smiles, grateful that so many people share his vision. Suddenly, a young woman who has been standing near the toy shelf steps forward. Her name is Amanda, and she has been a loyal customer of Wonderland Toys for years. "I just want to say, thank you, Mr. Johnson," she says, her voice shaking slightly with emotion. "I bring my niece here all the time, and I've always loved how she feels so welcome. What you did today, it means a lot." David nods appreciatively, touched by her words. "Thank you, Amanda. That's exactly why we're here. For kids like your niece, and for families who want to spend time together without fear of judgment." He turns to Tyler, kneeling down so that he's eye level with his son. "Tyler, I want you to know something," he says softly, his voice filled with affection. "No matter what anyone says, you deserve to be here. You deserve to have fun, to play, and to be treated with kindness and respect. Don't ever let anyone make you feel otherwise." Tyler's eyes glisten with tears, but he smiles, nodding. "Thanks, Dad," he whispers, his voice barely holding back a sob. "I love you. I love you too, buddy," David replies, pulling him into a tight hug. The sight of father and son embracing brings a few tears to the eyes of those watching. Even Marissa wipes a tear from her cheek, unable to hide her emotion. David stands up, holding Tyler's hand. "Now," he says, turning back to the crowd, "I think we've had enough drama for one day. Let's get back to what really matters, the toys." He chuckles, and the light-hearted remark breaks the tension, drawing a few laughs and cheers. As the customers start to disperse, some approach David to shake his hand, expressing their gratitude and support. One of the store employees, Jessica, steps forward. "Mr. Johnson," she says, her voice earnest, "we're all behind you. I just want you to know that. And if there's anything we can do to make this place even better, just say the word." David smiles warmly at her. "Thank you, Jessica. That means a lot. We're going to make this place something special together." The last remnants of the crowd begin to fade away, and the store returns to its usual hum of activity. But the atmosphere feels different, lighter, as if a shadow has been lifted. David looks around, feeling a sense of peace and satisfaction. He knows this isn't the end of the struggle. Prejudice doesn't disappear overnight. But today was a step forward, a small victory that he hopes will lead to bigger changes. In the days following the incident, word about what happened at Wonderland Toys begins to spread. At first, it's just whispers among regular customers, but soon, it reaches a wider audience. Local blogs pick up the story, and before long, news outlets are reporting on how the new owner of a prestigious toy store stood up against racism. David's bold stance and heartfelt words resonate with many, and people from all over the community start visiting the store, not just to buy toys, but to show their support. Wonderland Toys sees an unexpected influx of customers. Families from diverse backgrounds come in, and it's not uncommon to see parents chatting, laughing, and getting to know one another as their children play together. The store, once known for its refined atmosphere, becomes a vibrant, lively space filled with joy and inclusivity. David embraces this change, and so do the staff. He meets with his employees and discusses new initiatives to reinforce the store's mission of inclusivity. "We're not just a toy store," he tells them. "We're a community. Let's make sure everyone who walks through those doors feels welcome and respected." The staff respond enthusiastically, coming up with ideas for events and activities that bring kids and parents together. They organize toy-building workshops, storytelling sessions, and charity drives to donate toys to underprivileged children. David even invites local schools to bring students for educational tours, where kids can learn about the science behind their favorite toys. Each event reinforces the message that Wonderland Toys is a place for everyone. Meanwhile, Karen Mitchell's story takes a different turn. She was once a well-known face around the shopping center, confident and respected, but after the confrontation, things change. People who once greeted her warmly now give her cool, disapproving looks. A few friends try to console her, but even they can't help feeling disappointed by her actions. Karen finds herself avoiding Wonderland Toys, not out of pride, but because she's too embarrassed to face David, Marissa, and Tyler, and, ultimately, herself. One afternoon, about a week after the incident, Karen hesitantly steps back into the store. She doesn't make a grand entrance. Instead, She quietly slips in, almost as if she hopes no one will notice. But Jessica, one of the employees, spots her and gently approaches. "Ms. Mitchell," she says, her tone soft but serious. "Mr. Johnson is here. If you'd like to speak with him." Karen hesitates, her heart pounding. She considers turning around and leaving, but something keeps her rooted in place. She nods, and Jessica leads her to David, who is in the back, checking inventory. He looks up, surprised to see Karen, but he doesn't react with hostility. Instead, he regards her with a calm, steady gaze. "Ms. Mitchell," he says, acknowledging her presence. "I didn't expect to see you here." Karen swallows hard, feeling a lump form in her throat. "I came to apologize," she begins, her voice barely above a whisper. Properly this time, David waits, giving her the space she needs to find her words. For a moment, Karen struggles, her pride and guilt warring within her. But then she takes a deep breath, and when she speaks, her voice is clearer, more sincere. "I was wrong," she says, her eyes downcast. "I let my own prejudices affect the way I treated Tyler, and I hurt him because of it. I never thought of myself as a prejudiced person, but I see now that my actions were harmful, and there's no excuse for that." She looks up, meeting David's eyes for the first time. "I'm truly sorry, not just to you, but to Tyler and Marissa, and to everyone who was in the store that day. I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say it." David studies her for a moment, his expression thoughtful. "Apologizing is the first step, Ms. Mitchell," he says gently, "and I appreciate that you came here to do it. But understand that words alone aren't enough. It's what you do next that matters." Karen nods, understanding the weight of his words. "I want to do better," she says, her voice steady. "I don't want to be that person anymore." David smiles slightly, a hint of warmth returning to his eyes. "That's a start, and if you're willing to learn, I'm willing to help. But it's going to take time, and it won't always be easy." For the first time since she entered the store, Karen feels a glimmer of hope. She knows she has a long way to go, but she's ready to take the journey. "Thank you," she says quietly, her voice sincere. "I appreciate that." The two of them part on a respectful, if tentative, note. It's not a dramatic reconciliation, but it's real, and that's what matters. David doesn't offer an instant redemption. He offers an opportunity for Karen to reflect, learn, and grow. Over the next few weeks, Wonderland Toys continues to thrive. The store's new mission draws in people from all walks of life, and David's leadership inspires others to stand up against prejudice, not just in the store, but in their everyday lives. The events and workshops become a hit, fostering a sense of community that extends beyond the walls of the store. Tyler, too, flourishes. He gains confidence, knowing that his father has his back, and he makes new friends every time he visits the store. Marissa continues to watch over him, her pride in David's actions clear. She's no longer just a nanny. She's part of a bigger family, one that believes in fairness, kindness, and justice. As for Karen, she begins to volunteer at some of the store's events, quietly helping where she can. She doesn't seek attention or praise. She's there to learn, to be better. It's a slow process, but each small step feels like a victory. One evening, as the store closes and the last few customers trickle out, David sits down with Tyler, watching as he plays with his new favorite toy car. The store is quiet, but the warmth remains, lingering in the air. "You know, Tyler," David says, his voice soft, "I'm proud of you for standing there, even when things were tough. It takes a lot of courage." Tyler looks up, beaming. "I'm proud of you too, Dad, for helping everyone feel welcome." David's heart swells, and he reaches out to ruffle his son's hair. "We did it together, buddy, and we'll keep doing it." As they lock up for the night, the lights dimming, there's a sense of fulfillment that fills the store. Wonderland Toys has become more than a place to buy toys. It's a symbol of hope, acceptance, and the belief that, no matter how small, every action against prejudice counts. Thank you for watching this powerful story of resilience, courage, and change. What happened at Wonderland Toys reminds us that standing up against prejudice isn't just about big gestures, but also the everyday choices we make to create a more inclusive world. By confronting hate with kindness and determination, we can inspire real change and make a difference in our communities. If this story moved you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that inspire hope and justice. Together, we can spread the message of unity and understanding. See you in the next video.